you see, a man of style, insight, and courage is what you get. He is not known for biting his tongue. Oh no, you walked in the door. You were not biting your tongue, sir. He is committed to telling it like it is. If he bears allegiance, it would be to the progress of his people. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome national news commentator and advance man for the truth, Roland Martin.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Thank you. So how we doing? Y'all can turn lights up. It's like a damn club in here. I thought the DJ's about to get cranked up for a second or something. I'm just saying. Y'all can turn lights up. I like to see people. I appreciate y'all having this when it's not so damn cold. Appreciate that. I spent 6 years in Chicago. So when they said, hey, Twin Cities want y'all, like, which month? In some places, the brother don't go in December, January, February, March, April, and May. So I'm glad to be here. And so I had to set my live stream up because black people are real special, especially when they can't be here. And so Laisha Ward hit me up. She's like, I'm at a women's conference in Austin. I'm so bad I'm gonna miss you. She said, but give me a shout out. I said, black people will ask for a shout out. So y'all let Laisha know, but she's actually watching live stream. Yes, you're not here. You got your shout out. So, but I'm glad to see everyone here. I spoke to this organization several years ago, so glad to see all of you back. I appreciate y'all sending me the memo to wear red. Thank you very much. But being an alpha, that wasn't going to happen because we don't dress like Kappas or Deltas. Where are my alpha brothers at? What? All right, there you go. The rest of y'all in that group get no shout out. Sorry. I'm glad to see, of course, a couple of brothers of Sigma Pi Phi to relay congratulations on getting your awards tonight. So way to go. And so it is always, again, great to be here. It was so funny coming in here, all the folks wearing the jerseys. And folks come for the game? Nope, not coming for the game, sorry. But too bad you're playing. Y'all should just go ahead and cancel the game. Y'all playing the Redskins. That's like automatic win. So y'all gonna save all that time in traffic going to see them play. Should have done that. Also, greetings from your CEO, Mark Morial, my alpha brother, the CEO of the National Urban League. We always have a good time working with each other. I've done so many things over the years with the National Urban League and the great thing that they do. And last week I was in New York for an Execute America event and got a chance to see your former CEO, Hugh Price, in his semi-retirement. And he's, of course, doing some great work as well. And so let's not hold you any longer. I want to talk about what's very interesting. So they sent me the email and they said, this is a unity ball. And I started thinking about that. This notion of unity. And it begs to ask the question, when we say unity, what does that even mean? Because I think it's a little hard to have a discussion about unity unless we confront inequality. See, it's sort of like saying to somebody who's hungry, let's pray over the meal when they have no meal. It's a little hard to tell someone who can't afford a place to live and they're worried about a roof over their head, and then we say, well, but you should be thankful anyways. It's a little hard for that, and I'm saying that because I think a lot of times we have to be really honest with ourselves. We're living in a world where we really don't want to have the very difficult and hard questions or even confront them. So I'm always amazed when I go on these television shows and they always say, but Roland, can't you just admit that America has changed and things are good? And I'm going, yes, I can do that, but it's not as if we don't have more things to do. See, I think one of the fundamental problems that we have in this country is that we are so good at wanting to pat ourselves on the back as to how good things have gone, how things have gotten better, as opposed to putting ourselves in somebody else's shoes to understand what their life really has been like. Had a guy who told me, he said, Roland, you really shouldn't talk about, the issues that you face as a black man in media because they look at you, you've made it. And I said, really? I said, how much further could I be in my career if I did not have to deal with the BS I dealt with? And he saw that he was like, well, yeah, but he kept going, yeah, but. I said, no, it's not a yeah, but. I said, because don't tell me we're equal. And don't tell me that we are starting in the same place and space when the reality is we are not. See, right now we are in an America where we are 24 years away from being a nation that is majority people of color. And if we really want to be honest, what are we really dealing with today when we talk about all the buttons that are being pushed and the attacks on different groups? It is because of the fact that we will be a nation majority people of color in 24 years. And there are people who are scared to death of giving up power. They're scared to death of giving up resources. If we want to be honest, we have to accept the reality that since the creation of this country, it was not designed for people like me to take advantage of it. This is the year of return. 400 years since transatlantic slave trade really started in this country. First of all, we were here before 1619, but 400 years, and anyone who studies the history of these 400 years will realize what we have had to endure. I was in this discussion, I asked him, I said, can you show me a time in history when black folks did not have to fight for anything? I said, just take the time. I said, walk through 400 years of history and just find me any particular point where it did not result in protest and, as Frederick Douglass said, agitate, demanding different things. You can't find that. In the 109 years of the National Urban League, founded, of course, a few days ago, or last month, that's really what the organization has been. And in fact, how many people actually know the original name of the National Urban League? The original name is the Committee on Urban Conditions Among Negroes. The Committee on Urban Conditions, which means that it was dealing with exactly what folks were dealing with and were going through. And if you trace the 109 years, what you will see is that the fight 109 years ago, 1910, is eerily similar to 2019. So even with the advances, even with the changes, we're still dealing and confronting the same fundamental issues because we've had to fight for every single inch, every single centimeter, as opposed to truly being treated as if we are full Americans. I always put this in context when we always have these conversations. I love people talking about it. They say, well, slavery so long ago. I was like, yes, but Jim Crow wasn't. So you can't talk about slavery and ignore Jim Crow as if the 92 years of Jim Crow after the Great Compromise of 1877 somehow didn't happen. I said, if you use 1970 as a marker, and we were technically fully free Americans. I use 1970 because you have the 64 Civil Rights Act, 65 Voting Rights Act, 68 Fair Housing Act, King assassinated April 4th of 68. Then, of course, you have the Poor People's Campaign, Nixon election in 68. Of course, affirmative action coming in with Fletcher. I said, so you use 1970. That means that black people in America have been technically fully free Americans for 49 years. Just 49 years. That puts into context really what we are dealing with. And when I say dealing with this, and again when I want us, because black folks more than anybody else has been the ones who have challenged America to be the nation it is on paper as opposed to the nation it is in reality. See, that's why when Bill O'Reilly had the audacity to call Colin Kaepernick out talking about read one of his books to discuss American patriotism, I said, no disrespect, but you can't tell any black person about how to be patriotic when you can love a country that don't love you. There's no greater patriotism than that. See, I know some of the stuff I'm saying right now makes some folk real uncomfortable. See, I understand that, because what often happens is we come to these events and then we want to be made to feel good. But the reality is you can walk outside these doors. It's not necessarily some folks feeling good. Valerie Castile is sitting here. Trust me, she ain't feeling good. Yeah. I can tell you, Tiana Jefferson's family in Fort Worth, Texas, they're not feeling good in 2019. I can tell you Rakia Boyd's family in Chicago, not feeling good. Ayanna Jones' family in Michigan, not feeling good. I'm telling you right now, the folks at the Center for Employment Discrimination are not feeling good. See, we can say, oh, well, why can't we it just feels great, can we just get together and love one another? We can do all of that, but what will our reality look like tomorrow morning when we walk into workplaces that don't look like this room? See, I'm not interested in having convenient, fun, nice, congenial conversations, because all that does is give us a false sense of reality and causes us not to have to confront the reality of what's happening in our world, in our nation, in our states, in our cities, in our neighborhoods, on our blocks, on our streets, and in our houses. And for too many of us, we have accepted what has been happening in this country, and far too many of us have been silent about doing something to change it. Yeah. See, the only way we can have true unity is if leaders lead. And I don't mean leaders inside of your corporations. I mean leading your corporations, what's happening outside the corporation, if you're truly about community leaders. Yeah. 1964, Dr. King wins the Nobel Peace Prize, accepts it on behalf of the movement. City of Atlanta says that we're going to have a celebration of our native son, and nearly all the white business leaders in Atlanta said, hell no, we are not honoring that name. Few tickets were sold. The mayor of Atlanta then goes to the former president of Coca-Cola and says, he must do something. And this individual, he pretty much ran Atlanta. So he then got with current CEO, J. Paul Austin. And J. Paul Austin said this here, quote, it is embarrassing for Coca-Cola to be located in a city that refuses to honor its Nobel Prize winner. And he did something that you will not hear folk do today. He said, if y'all don't honor King, I will move Coca-Cola out of Atlanta. $1,600 showed the hell up. They bought tickets. Yes, sir. And see, a lot of things, we have some courage on these issues. See, there were companies in Indiana, North Carolina, who pulled their business because of religious freedom bills, or because of transgender bathroom bills. But what I'm saying is, what else are we willing to stand up for to use corporate power to have a difference when it comes to public policy? See, leaders must be able to lead. Congressman Al Green in April, there were the major 7 bank CEOs are sitting in front of him, and he asked the question, and the whole discussion was about diversity and inclusion. He said, raise your hand if any of the 7 of you, if you retire, there's a white woman or a minority who is in line to replace you as the CEO, and not a hand went up. See, I'm just sick and tired of these BS, nonsensical, safe, trifling discussions on diversity and inclusion. That's really not about diversity and inclusion. And don't come to me with somebody who is the head of community affairs with no budget and no staff, Don't show up with the head of diversity with no budget and no staff. Don't show me the one African American who's on the board of directors. No, what I'm saying is, what does it look like top to bottom, vertical and horizontal? Cities get on fire. All of a sudden, there are tragedies, police shootings, brutality, near riots. And the first thing folks say, can we all just have unity? And can we all just simply calm down? And I dare say, if you don't have that level of concern every single day, that's precisely why your city has problems. See, at some point, we got to have real conversations if we actually expect real change. And see, real leaders actually do that. I think of, in my business, Al Newhart. White man grows up in South Dakota. You know he ain't seen no black people growing up. I ain't never met somebody black from South Dakota. I'll be 51 in 3 weeks, still trying to meet the first black person who's actually from South Dakota. But Al Newhart is the CEO of Gannett. And Al Newhart says Gannett is going to be the leader in this industry when it comes to diversity. And he says, I'm tired of asking y'all to do it. So I'm tying your bonuses to your numbers. And he then says that if you got a problem with what I'm doing, you're happy to leave the company. And there were people who were mad as hell, sent him emails, he said, don't matter, y'all can leave. And some left. The reason you had African American men and women, Latinos, Asians, white women, you had folks who were people of color, who became publishers and news directors and general managers and managing editors of newspapers, because Al Newhart put money to the test and said, if you don't change, you will not get your bonus. And that's how Gannett became the leading company in the nation. And what did they do? It forced Knight Ridder and Cox and Belo and every other media company to have real diversity efforts, because they were afraid of losing their black, minority, and female talent to Gannett, because Gannett was providing opportunities. If Al Newhart didn't do it as a CEO, it would not have happened. That's called leadership. John Landgraf, President FX Network. 2014, he sends a single email out. He says, the Directors Guild of America did a report that showed that only 12% of all of the directors of their television shows were people of color or white women. Okay, let me go ahead and stop right there. Some of y'all probably saying, why does he keep saying people of color and white women? Because see, the problem when we talk about MWBE, if you're a black woman, you ain't in the women category, you're in the black category. And if you're Latino, you ain't in the you're a Latino woman, you ain't Latina, you ain't in the women category, you over there in the Latino category. So when we see the W, you might as well say WW, because it really means white women. So that's why I'm saying that, in case anybody was confused. 12%. John Landgraf sends an email. He says, I'm sorry, this cannot exist, because they were the worst in the industry. 6 months after he sent the email, then 6 months later, they did another survey. 51% of all directors were either people of color or white women. Because as a president, he said, I can't, and he got an award at the T. Howard Foundation. I was there. He said, I'm a white guy. He said, I love white men. He said, but America don't look like white men. He said, it's crazy that 88% of the people who are directors on our shows were white men. He said, this has to change. It took affirmative action, such as sending a single email, to cause the level of change in their network. That led to them then saying, look at the showrunners, look at the shows. It changed the whole approach in the company because the leader led. I'm saying that because If we want to actually have unity, then we have to have equality. And what that means is we need folks who are sitting in this room to take what actually happens in this room, not just the feel-good stuff, but then take the same radical attitude when you're walking into the office and begin to challenge the folks where you work in a much different way. We talk about income inequality. We talk about wealth creation. Do you realize in this country that there's a $1 trillion pension plan on the federal government, and African Americans only manage 100 million of $1 trillion? If you put the black federal workers together, they are collectively the largest group of wealth in black America. If you took black workers who are on the federal level, state level, county level, city level, there's more black wealth as a result of pension funds than in corporate America, because we've been frozen out of corporate America, frozen out of Wall Street, even in 2019, frozen out of law firms, and the same thing happened in media. Yet, for some reason, it's as if black folks don't know how to manage those dollars. John Rogers can, Robert Smith can, Christopher Williams can. There are numerous folks out there, but they cannot get a shot when they are frozen out. And then somehow folks are supposed to say, why can't we all get along? We can't get along when I'm broke and you're not. See, I'm talking about what's real. 2010, I got called to the Treasury Department and they said, man, we have a celebration tomorrow. I said, what y'all celebrating? They said, minority firms outperform white firms on the management of TARP funds. I said, oh, does that mean the minority firms get more money? Everybody went quiet. I said, I'm sorry, where I come from, if you do better than everybody else, then you should get more stuff to manage. That's just sort of how I think this thing works, right? The answer was no. It didn't happen. See, we have to begin to break down these institutional barriers that are preventing us from being able to build and be able to grow. And see, I don't want to hear all that BS about some damn bootstraps. I don't want to hear bootstraps. Trump gave farmers $28 billion, not in loans, in grants. Well, where in the hell were they boots? The Homestead Act. Millions of land given away in the 1800s. That wasn't bootstraps. That was called a federal handout. It was free land. $5 to $6 billion worth of land was taken from African Americans as a result of home issues and redlining in Chicago in the 40s, 50s. That's $5 billion in one city alone. The home foreclosure crisis that we just went through in 2007, 2008 led to 53% of all black wealth being wiped out. I'm sorry, there ain't enough chicken dinners to replace the billions that black folks lost. At some point, we got to be honest about those who caused it and what needs to be done to fix it. I'm tired of us being cute with what's happening in our cities, in our counties, in our states, and in this country. Yes. And clearly, it's not going to come from Washington, D.C. That ain't happening. Y'all had that hate rally here 2 weeks ago. That's not happening. But it is going to require civic leaders, business leaders, CEOs, board members, EVPs, SVPs, who have the financial capital to begin to change cities and cause them to say, this has to change. We need more folks like that CEO of Coca-Cola in 2019. We need more courage of leaders who use their power to be able to be difference makers. And the only way we're going to have true unity, the only way we're going to have true change is if we have people of conscience who are willing to stand up. This cannot be your Negro check-off event every year. The NAACP banquet cannot be it. It cannot be the place where we come take photos, say we were there, we had a good time. No, what this should do is operate the same way that happens when you renew your wedding vows. This should be is a renewal in terms of the commitment to economic rights, a renewal to the commitment of civil rights. It means that if you came here for this dinner, that you actually not just care about the leadership of Twin Cities Urban League, you care about their mission. And what is the original mission of this organization? It's very simple. Quote, to enable African Americans to secure economic self-reliance, parity, power, and civil rights. If you are not aligned with that mission, then you are wasting your time sitting in this room. The time has come for leaders to lead. The time has come for folks to step up and stand out. And if it means challenging your friends, challenging your neighbors, challenging your wife, challenging your husband, challenging your co-workers, challenging your church members, that has to happen. It is time for people to say enough with the games, enough with go along to get along. It's time for folks to stand up and fight and look folks in the eye and say, this cannot change. This city and St. Paul should look differently a year from now than it looks this year. If you come back here next year and this city looks the same as it does this year, then you've actually wasted your time. This requires folks to fight. It requires you to stand up, and it might mean making some enemies, but I'd rather make some enemies for good than to simply say we'll get along at the country club. Stand up and fight. Stand up, challenge. And do like my friend from the Burton Tandy said, we will fight until hell freezes over, and then we will fight on the ice.
Was that a call to action? I'm trying to hold back the tears. We hear the statements, but we don't necessarily receive them. Take them home, let them churn in our spirit. And I will be churning tonight, sir. Thank you so much to our own Mr. Roland Martin, who spoke for us tonight. That was a timely message, sir. Now we are coming to a close of this program, but please do not stop thinking about what he has said. Please take it as a call to action. We have a few housekeeping issues. A male left a ring in the men's bathroom. Please see me. Also, before we transition to the party portion of the proceedings, I want to let you know that there are 4 original pieces still left at registration table in the foyer by Donald Walker. Each of these pieces are valued at $400 a piece. Please go and check them out and see if you would like to take one home. I want to thank all of you for coming out this evening and supporting this wonderful organization. The Urban League Twin Cities, it's special. And a special thanks to our sponsors, our recipients, the staff and management of Hilton, Minneapolis, and the Urban League board, staff, and volunteers. So now, let's get ready to party, to veil. So good night, everyone, and thanks for allowing me to be your MC tonight.
We're going to start off just a little bit slow, and then we'll pick it up. So,
LA. Black Journalist Board meeting. Probably an advocacy day, so more on the very issue. So we'll do that. They don't want me to lose the money. Okay, cool. Yeah, good brother. Yeah, that's it. Okay.
What I gotta do to get you out here to host the voter registration drive?
Shoot an email. My name is Roland at
Roland at Roland.
I just want to say, great job.
I appreciate you, Dr.
Right? So, God, I like what you had to say. God willing, I will be in a position of power to do something. I'm in a good organization, and let me tell you, that's their need. Anyway. Sorry, your birthday.
Remember one, that's the real one.
No, not a fake, yeah. That was in October.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just here. Yeah.
A second.
Okay. 1 second.